we're back. I often like to tell the people who come out and join me in the crowd to not get too comfortable watching the movie because we're only going to show clips. So as you can see, we see a little bit of the movie. Now we're going to get to a little discussion about what we've seen and the particular topic for the evening. Like I said, the topic tonight is, are we sometimes meant to be alone? And the clip that you just saw, Moselle, her husband, she has been married I think 2 or 3 times, and each one of her husbands have died in different ways. And so they are she is what they call a black widow. Meaning, you know how a black widow spider usually will eat her mate. So she's considered a black widow mate. And looking at her life, it just seems like she's always destined to fail within her relationships. And I know many of us, a lot of times, we can feel the same way. You know, relationship after relationship always ends up a failure. And so the first thing I want to ask everyone is, do you sometimes feel like you're just destined to be by yourself? You know, after a failed relationship after failed relationship, doesn't this seem like, regardless of what you do, you're just destined, or you're just meant to be by yourself? Do you ever feel that way? You don't feel that way? Because you know.
Experience different people, and the person that is for you is on their way. So I don't see it as I don't feel like I'm destined to be by myself because of failed relationships.
So even though you may have had, you know, I don't know, you may have been married twice and you divorced twice and even have had long-term relationships end abruptly or whatever, for you, it's just a process of getting to the right person eventually. Anybody else? Any thoughts? You guys? Nah, it's okay, don't call me out. I know from my own personal experience, I feel a lot like you do, that eventually the right person will come, or maybe they won't. Looking at my family, I'm a product of nothing but divorces. All 4 of my parents were divorced at least once and then remarried. Both of my brothers, divorcees, about to start working on their second marriages. And even my grandparents and great-grandparents and a lot of my aunts and uncles have been married multiple times, divorced, blah, blah, blah. But I also have people in my family who have never been married, never had children. That was just not part of the plan for them. I have an uncle who's 85 years old now, never been married, doesn't have any kids. And he did have a long-term girlfriend, we're talking like 20, 30 years. But with him, he had to take care of his mother, who was very sickly. So he gave up his life, you know, having the chance to make his own family to take care of his mother. And so I know for him, in talking to him, he's like, you know, he accepts that was his fate in life, and he just was not meant to have, you know, that does not play that role. That one thing that just did not happen for him. He looks at his nieces as his children. He just accepts that. But, you know, I look at other people in my family who are in the same boat, have had many relationships, but the relationships have just all gone to pot, have never been married. You know, in their 50s now, never been married, never had any kids. It just doesn't happen. And so I know for me, a lot of times when people ask me, well, why aren't you in a relationship? My biggest thing is, you know, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. But I also recognize that it may not happen the way I expect it to. You know, I may believe that there may be someone out there for me or multiple people out there for me, and we have, you know, what can be successful relationships for maybe short or long-term periods of time. But the fact is, I may not end up with someone. I don't know for sure. It's not something I'm going to sit here and dwell on, but because I've seen it before and I recognize what it looks like, I can't ignore the fact that it may happen. You know, so in that respect, I may be destined to be by myself, but I don't know. I don't know what my destiny is, and none of us do. But I know a lot of times, different people I would talk to, they feel like, okay, well, you know what, I'm just gonna be by myself, or I'm just meant to be by myself. As soon as they get out of a really bad relationship or whatever it may be. So people do begin to feel very jaded and left out of what it can be, what a relationship can be. in doing that, even though some of us may feel like, okay, there may be someone out there for us, what is it that causes all these failed relationships one after the other? Because in order to even have a strong relationship with someone, we need to be able to recognize what it is that keeps going wrong over and over again.
Okay, I've been reading this book called The Secret, and The Secret is the law of attraction, and it's what you put out is what you get back. So I think if you have the mentality that, I want to be by myself, and that's what your energy is giving off. If you put off, I know the person that I'm supposed to be with is on their way, and if you have that mentality, then you will draw positive people to you. But if you kind of subliminally you're dwelling on it, listening to you speak and what your experience has been. You saw divorce, you saw failed relationships. This is the picture that you get. So in the back of your mind, you could be feeling, I'm not going to be successful at a relationship, and a lot of people might feel that way. But you have to change your thought process, and once you begin to change your thought process, then everything will work in your favor. So that's how I look at life. It's what you put out, it's what you get back.
What about the failures themselves, the relationships that you've already been in, and why they actually failed in the first place? You know, taking a look at ourselves and the things that we've done and why things have just not worked out. Because we need to get past that in order to be able to move forward. So what has happened in our past relationships that has come off as failures? You know, why have those relationships been failures? And is there anything that we can do about it? Were they just meant to fail? Okay, yeah, they didn't work out. Yeah, we can say they were meant to fail, but why? What is the reason behind those actual failures?
I would just say because you're either looking for the wrong thing, or you're in it because there's something you're going to learn out of it, because I've learned a lot. Sometimes you're in it way too long, and you don't really see what's going on until after you're out. But mostly if you're in a bad relationship, it's not a good thing to stay in it for very long.
Yeah, time is definitely a factor. You can be in something that you're just not meant to be in and be there for too long a period of time, and a number of different factors. Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know me, I am the author of a book called It's Just a Damn Date. You can find it back here and behind the counter for sale or just to read. But yeah, that's one thing I talk about in the book too. When you look at the relationships that you've been in and you reflect and think about, you know, not so much about what that person did to you or why they were wrong, but seeing yourself within your relationships, recognizing that sometimes you should have gotten out beforehand, before it got, even got started. You know, signs that you might have ignored. Giving into your own expectations, your own desires, and not really paying attention to what the situation really is. You're just so busy and so focused on what it is that you want, you're not even taking the time to see how things really are. I think we all need to look at that a little bit more too. Now, as we're going through this, I know for me, I have a lot of friends, particularly my male friends, who are married with kids and stuff like that. Why does it seem like sometimes we are the only ones who are by ourselves? Why does it seem like we're the only ones who are, or why does it seem like everyone else has found some sort of success within their relationships and we continue to be by ourselves? For those who have married friends and are still single. See back to thinking, man. Any ideas?
Then again, I go back. I don't dwell on what somebody else has. I'm happy for them, and that's where they are in their life. So, I don't feel the pressure. I don't feel the pressure because I know what I want. And I know what I give, and so my expectations are here. And so if I meet someone, I get to know the person, and I just look at it like if it's not successful, if it doesn't work out, it was an experience. I needed to to make sure that this is what I want, and I'm feeling good about what I want, and not just like settle. So I just look at any relationship, you know, any contact you come with a person. We're talking about like being in a male, female, male, whatever relationship, whatever. But it's just an experience, and it's okay. So no, I don't feel pressure.
Anybody?